Right. So the GSMA AgriTech Accelerator is funded by GIZ on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, and is implemented by GSMA. What we will go through today in terms of the objective of this webinar is to introduce the GSMA AgriTech program and the accelerator, the eligibility criteria, why you should apply, or more importantly, what support is on offer and how to apply for the accelerator. While this webinar serves as an introduction, please do visit our AgriTech Accelerator webpage, which I will show later on as well, as that provides a lot more detail as well as critical documents that you should review before you apply for the accelerator. So let's start off. The GSMA. So the GSMA is the Association of the Mobile Industry, and we work towards unlocking the power of connectivity so that people, industry, and society thrives. Within the wider GSMA, there is a specific function called Mobile for Development, which works to drive innovation in digital technology to reduce inequalities in our world. So our work within Mobile for Development is very much focused on creating social impact in a sustainable manner. Now, there's 4 key thematic areas that we work on within Mobile for Development: digital inclusion, resilience to climate change, financial inclusion, and humanitarian response. So most of the initiatives you will see from our Mobile for Development team will focus and center on these key themes, and the accelerator is no different. It addresses the first 3 of those, being digital inclusion, resilience to climate change, and financial inclusion. Now, within Mobile for Development, there's a number of verticals or a number of specific programs, one of which is the AgriTech program, which is running this particular initiative, and that myself and Abby, we are a part of. So the AgriTech program works to digitize agricultural value chains for the benefit of smallholder farmers, improving their livelihoods, financial inclusion, and climate resilience. Over the past decade, we have worked with and advised both mobile network operators as well as agri-tech companies to design, develop, launch, and scale digital agriculture solutions that today reach more than 15 million smallholder farmers. And the focus of our work, the overwhelming focus, remains digitizing the agricultural value chain for the benefit of smallholder farmers. Now, when it comes to our vision, we strive for creating an equitable and sustainable food chains that empower farmers and strengthen local economies. How that translates into our work, we basically bring together and support the mobile industry and wider agricultural sector stakeholders such as digital agriculture startups, agribusinesses, and investors, everyone working in the wider agri-tech space to launch, scale, and improve solutions for farmers in the developing world. And there's 3 core pillars of our work. The first one is our research and insights function, which I won't delve into much detail on right now. Abby will cover that in a bit. The second element is partnership brokering, where, as I mentioned, we bring together all the different stakeholders and help them form partnerships. And the third element is technical assistance and innovation fund. Now, this particular accelerator is a technical assistance initiative, which means that there's no direct funding, no direct grant funding involved, but we will offer a variety of technical assistance elements, which I will cover later, to those who are selected for this initiative. So the 3 focus areas of our program, and I've mentioned this before, so I'll cover this very quickly. Improved livelihoods, financial inclusion, and climate resilience. Each of these outcomes can be achieved through a variety of different use cases and services. We'll touch upon them further in this webinar a little bit, but I will strongly encourage you to go through the applicant handbook, which is available on our webpage, as that details the use cases and sub-use cases that are relevant to the accelerator's objectives in a lot more detail. Right, so now moving on to the opportunity and what the accelerator is all about. Before I jump into this, if you have any questions that you want to ask us, please post them in the chat window or in the Q&A section. For those who are joining Teams on a browser, you might not see the Q&A section up top, so feel free to use the chat function. So either of those, our team will be monitoring to record your questions, and we will answer them all at the end. So we will leave a good 20-25 minutes at the end to cover all the questions that have been asked. Now, moving to the accelerator itself, and the core objective over here is to accelerate the growth of innovative revenue generating. Let's remember that, because we'll come to this revenue generating bit again. But accelerate the growth of innovative revenue generating digital agriculture solutions that support the program's mission and those three key verticals that I've kept defining, because that is very important: farmer livelihoods, financial inclusion, and climate resilience. Now, as part of this accelerator, we will select 10 cohort members. So successful applicants will be referred to as cohort members, and we will support them over the next 24 months or 2 years through a number of initiatives. I'll quickly highlight just one or two over here, and then detail the technical assistance on a later slide as well. But your core point of contact and your lead consultant over the next 2 years, if you are selected, will be your market engagement manager, who's a member of the GSMA AgriTech team, has experience of working with a number of agri-tech solutions across different markets, and they will help you achieve those objectives of improving the design and development of your service and then scaling it as part of the accelerator support. We will also bring on board a number of external consultants or specialists in their own areas to help us with product design, monitoring, evaluation, and learning, as well as its investment readiness, so that you are more prepared to pitch to external investors. And finally, we will provide a number of opportunities for networking and international exposure to our events, which I will cover in a bit as well. And again, insights I will leave to Abby. Now, when we talk about use cases, this is important because, again, the core idea behind use cases is that they must lead to these outcomes, these three outcomes that I mentioned before. So what you see over here is a set of examples of use cases that can help us achieve those outcomes. But this is not an exhaustive list, and we are open to receiving applications from services that address those core objectives, that achieve those outcomes that we want to achieve, even if that is done through different use cases than the ones listed over here. But just to provide you an example, we've kind of broken down these use cases into some sub-use cases highlighted here. And again, you'll see more detail in the applicant handbook, so I'll keep referring you back to that document because that gives a lot more details. But those outcomes that we mentioned are achieved through providing improved access to services, markets, or assets for smallholder farmers. And these use cases help in achieving that. So, for example, digital advisory, it can include climate smart advisory, if it's raining today, this is what you should be doing. It could include product verification. Is this a genuine product or not? Agri-digital financial services could include credit, loans or savings, or it could include more specific service providers like credit scoring engines that help banks make more informed decisions. Digital procurement and agri e-commerce help improve the access to markets primarily, and they help digitize records with a number of complementary services such as payments, traceability, or on the e-commerce side, helping digitize the flow of inputs or outputs within the agricultural ecosystem. And finally, smart farming may include examples such as equipment monitoring, or what we've seen a lot in terms of livestock or aquaculture management. Now, that's an overview of the kinds of services that we are looking to support. More important for us is to highlight what we will be offering to you if you are selected to become part of this cohort. So the first and most important element for us is the user experience and product design side. And we break that down into two elements: the initial kind of UX and design research, which is aimed at understanding farmer needs and how well a service is meeting them, while also assessing the UI UX of the service. And then there's the product design, which is the improvements or suggestions that we that we put forward as a result of the research. And this may include, improved functional specifications, mock-ups, suggestions to improve UI and UX for the product. In delivering this UX and product design component, we will be assisted by an external product design specialist, a firm that we will bring on board. The second element is data analytics and go-to-market consultancy, which we have an internal business intelligence team, which will help you in understanding your data better and kind of understanding what is going well and what is not going well by assessing key usage trends within the service. While our market engagement manager, who I've mentioned before, will lead the go-to-market consulting element, which is, strategizing the right marketing mix, channels, revenue model, customer acquisition plans, and so on. The investment readiness portion is very much focused on, as the name suggests, access to consultants who will coach cohort members on fundraising. Now, this will include the usual things that that come with such kind of support, which is training and capacity building and support with pitch decks and how to make a strong pitch for your service. But more importantly, we will also open doors to investors directly and help you with pitching directly to investors. And we will leverage our industry-leading events such as Mobile World Congress Barcelona or Mobile World Congress Africa to give cohort members the opportunity to pitch directly to investors. The monitoring, evaluation, and learning element has two purposes. One is to understand the social impact that we are creating, which is very important for us, how we are improving the lives of smallholder farmers. And the second, which is equally important, is to understand how well the service is doing to help you in making more informed business decisions. So that the surveys that we carry out, the results that we share historically have helped improve the products that our grantees and partners in the past have launched. That leads us to the product iteration workshop, which is where all of what I've just mentioned kind of comes together. And this is something that we're very proud of, and a structure that we've developed and improved over the years, where we get together with with cohort members and look at all of these different areas, the outputs of the UX work, the data analytics, the MEL results, the feedback from external consultants, to assess what is going well with the service, what is not going well with the service, and develop action plans for the months and weeks to come. And that is what serves as the core tracking mechanism as well for us in terms of how the service is evolving over time and how well it is delivering results. The insights and best practices function, which I've played up a lot and I will leave for Abby. And then there is service specific support. Now, this is things that not all cohort members would require, but some specific cohort members might require. For example, if you are building a credit scoring model, you might need support from an external consultant. We can try and get that kind of support. Of course, that will be dependent on the budget that we have available, as well as how strong the need is from the cohort member. Now, I'll very quickly run through the eligibility requirements. These are all listed in the term sheet that you will find on our website. But these are critical elements that you must meet in order to qualify for the accelerator support. The first and most important, demonstrating impact along those three verticals that I've mentioned, and I'll keep repeating them: farmer livelihoods, climate resilience, and financial inclusion. The second element is you must have been in operation for 2 years and have an existing user base of farmers and paying customers. So you must be a revenue generating entity. It must be a for-profit organization. Your solution must be implemented in, and the organization must be registered in an eligible market. And I'll just show you what the eligible countries are. When we talk about intellectual property and saying that you must own the IP, it's important to explain that what we want over here is to make sure that decisions regarding product improvement are taken in-house within the organization, and there's no dependency on external stakeholders to make those decisions. Because we have a limited time frame for of only 2 years, we want to make sure that service iteration remains a key part of the progress that the organization makes. Inclusivity is the single most important component of our eligibility criteria, as well as the selection criteria that you will find in the term sheet. And we want to enable equitable access for women, youth, and farmers with disabilities through the solutions that we support. So you will see in the application a few questions around this as well, and we're very interested to know what you've done till now to make your solutions inclusive and what you plan to do in the future in making your solutions inclusive. And the KPIs that you set for this support, you will also see elements of inclusivity included over there. There's also a number of commitments mentioned in our term sheet. Please go through those. That is the commitments that you will be making to the accelerator in case you are selected as a cohort member. So we would very strongly encourage you to go through those and before you apply. Now, eligible markets. In Latin America, there's 3: Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. In Asia, we have Jordan, Pakistan, and Cambodia. In Africa, where the main focus of the program will be, you see a lot more in terms of eligible markets. The countries are listed over here. I won't read through all of them. They're also listed in our term sheet and applicant handbook. So I'll keep referring you back to those documents. Please do have a look at them before you apply. Now, in terms of the timeline, the most important date at this stage is 10th February 2023. That is when applications close. So please make sure, if you're interested, submit your concept note applications before this deadline. We'll then take about 2 months for the selection of projects, where we'll have a shortlisting phase. There will be some additional or clarifying questions asked of the shortlisted applicants, and then a panel will convene to make the final decision on the 10 organizations selected. During late April through May, we will sign off MOUs, binding MOUs with all of the selected cohort members, and from the 1st of June, we start implementation, which goes on for 2 years. A reminder again, please post your questions in the Q&A section or the chat window. Any questions you might have, please keep them there. One thing I mentioned at the start of this discussion as well is that we are recording it, so it will be available at the end for you as well, the entire webinar. Now, in moving to the project and team setup, what I briefly wanted to highlight over here was that what the two sides of the equation will look like, of the two sides of this partnership, or when we start to work together, what that will look like. On the GSMA side, the engagement will be led by the market engagement manager, who I've mentioned before, and this individual will be supported by the business intelligence analyst for the data analytics part that I was mentioning, by the MEL manager and external consultant for the MEL elements, the user experience consultant, the investment readiness consultant, and by the GSMA AgriTech Insights team. So all of that kind of comes together to help us put together this package of support for that we are offering through the accelerator. Whereas on the cohort member side, The product manager is the lead element, the lead part of the team. And so you will see on our website certain guidelines that we have proposed for the product managers. Please have a look at them before you nominate your product manager, because that's very important. This is the person who will be the primary face of your organization over the implementation period. The product manager is supported by your C-level layer, which includes the CEO and another C-level sponsor. This is where the strategic support and mentorship and guidance for this initiative comes from. The cross-functional project team, which is very important, so bringing on board all the relevant departments within your organization. There's some examples given over here. I won't go into details, but I'm sure you understand the core reason for including a cross-functional team and why it is so critical for success. And finally, you may have external partners who will be helping you deliver certain services. So if you want to get a payment service going, you might have a mobile money provider as a partner. If you have a smart farming solution, you might have a hardware provider who's providing you certain services. So those partnerships also tie in to the overall cross-functional support that the product manager will need. At this time, I will hand over to Abby to introduce the insights function of the GSMA, and then we will move towards the next steps. So Abby, over to you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Fati Job, and I'm one of the insights managers on the AgriTech program. So in the next few minutes, I'll highlight the value the AgriTech function brings to the accelerator. I'll also share our objectives and the types of insights that we produce. Slides have changed. So to begin, the Insights team will support the AgriTech Accelerator by sharing learnings and best practices from global research to support the scaling of digital agriculture solutions. We'll also support the market engagement team in matching selected cohort members to investors to expand their investment readiness, as Ahmed was mentioning earlier, in collaboration with the market engagement team. We'll provide opportunities for cohort members to be featured in GSMA publications, for example, through case studies, which we have done many times over. We'll also enable access to a global community of actors in the digital agriculture space, in particular with mobile operators, with whom partnerships are necessary to scale digital agriculture products and services. And we convene events, participate in events, so we will provide cohort members with opportunities to participate in both GSMA-led sessions at events such as our flagship Mobile World Congress events in Barcelona and in Kigali, and as well as in external events such as SANCAL Global and Africa Summits and the ICT for Ag event. So to meet our objectives of enabling knowledge sharing, convening stakeholders, facilitating partnerships, and providing thought leadership in the digital agriculture space, the Insights function produces intelligence informed by extensive primary and secondary research, analysis of industry data, and our implementation projects in Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and now with the addition of a new region in Latin America, we're looking forward to the insights that we can produce from there, which will then inform the objectives of the of our function. We produce content in a variety of formats, including toolkits, case studies, focus notes, as well as blogs, vlogs, and informative videos on a range of digital agriculture use cases and themes aligned with the program's focus on improving financial inclusion, climate resilience, and improving the livelihoods of smallholder farmers in low and middle income countries, as Ahmed has reminded us a couple of times. I will quickly spotlight a few examples of the types of insights that we produce. So at the top left-hand side is the thumbnail of our toolkit for digitizing agriculture value chains. This is actually a collection of resources that illustrate how digital technologies can address pain points for farmers and value chain actors, such as agribusinesses and cooperatives in the agriculture last mile. It also highlights the opportunities that digital agriculture offers to mobile network operators and provides a step-by-step guide for identifying and prioritizing value chains that are ripe for digitization. Our Digital Agriculture State of the Sector in 2020 report offers a snapshot into the digital agriculture landscape in low and middle income countries through in-depth analysis and looks at the trends behind the evolution of the sector from 2009 to 2019. And lastly, just to mention, just to keep with the examples that I'm providing, our recent blog explores the key trends in the adoption and use of digital agriculture solutions. So the types of digital agriculture advisory solutions demanded by farmers, governments, NGOs, and how the use of these services are changing as the pandemic subsides. Another important part of the work that we do is convening and participating in events and webinars organized by our team, the wider GSMA, as well as external partners and stakeholders. So we regularly host side sessions or roundtables at the GSMA's own events that I mentioned earlier, so MWC in Barcelona and MWC Africa, which is held in Kigali, where we bring together a diverse set of stakeholders, including investors, agri-tech companies, mobile operators, agribusinesses, farmer organizations, financial service providers, to speak and share their experiences and recommendations for driving agri-tech innovation forward at scale and in a sustainable way. So at MWC 2022, for example, we hosted an invite-only roundtable, bringing together investors and digital agriculture solution providers to facilitate discussion on the opportunities and challenges of investing in emerging digital agriculture innovations. We also host side sessions at external events such as SANCAP's Global Summit. We contribute as speakers or panelists in different sessions for different types of events. And also we recommend speakers from our network to speak to certain topics and provide kind of practical examples on their solutions and the work that they're doing within their markets. We participate in events held in person, those that are held virtually, as well as a hybrid of the two as we now move into a more digital and everything's online type of world. So on that note, I will hand over back to Amit to share information on the next steps. Please continue to share your questions in the Q&A and chat functions. And thank you very much. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you so much, Abby. I think we have started getting some questions in there, 5 or 6 from what I just saw. So please do keep adding your questions into the chat or the Q&A section. So in terms of next steps, so the core of the information that you will find about the accelerator comes from the applicant pack, which is uploaded on our website, and I'll just show you in a second. The applicant pack has 4 key elements: the term sheet, which basically details the terms and conditions of the accelerator, what the GSMA will be contributing, what we will be expecting from the cohort members, what the eligibility criteria for the accelerator is, what the selection criteria is, what the eligible markets are, and so on. You will also see a PDF version of the concept note questions. Now that is only to help you see beforehand what the questions are and so on. Submissions will only be accepted through our online portal, again, which I will show you shortly. So while you can use this PDF version to kind of, prepare your answers or have a look at what the questions are, the submissions must be done online through the portal, which I will show you. Then there's the FAQs, which answer the FAQs, and then there's the product manager guidelines, which I referred to because the product manager is such a central part of the team that you will be putting forward. So all of that is available on the website, and like I mentioned, I'll show that shortly. In terms of the next steps, please review these documents, start drafting your applications, confirm your project partners, and share your questions with our team, both today as well as later. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at agritechaccelerator@gsma.com. This is also the email address is also available on our website. A reminder again, the concept note deadline is the 10th of February 2023, and an even more critical reminder, it's 5 p.m. GMT. It's not end of day GMT, so please make sure you don't miss this deadline. So with that, I will move to the online portal and maybe in 3 or 4 minutes show you very quickly what that is all about, and then we will open to questions. So here is our website. Well, that's a scrolling mess up, but yeah, so that's our website, and you will see You'll see details about the accelerator, its focus areas, but more critically, you will see the resources that I was mentioning, the term sheet, the applicant handbook, the application questions, FAQs, and product manager guidelines. Please have a look at these documents. They provide a lot of details relevant to the accelerator, and that is what and they will help you answer the questions that have been asked in the application in a much more informed manner. The webinars, of course, you see you're attending the first of them. There's another one in 2 days, and so once you choose to apply, you are led to the accelerator page. And before you start over here, you'll see a bit of introduction again to the accelerator. More critically, you'll see these documents that you can download, and most of these are the same documents on the website, but there's one critical difference, which is this AgriTech Key Performance Indicators document. Please download this before you start the application. And this document basically lays out the KPIs that you will propose to set for your initiative, and basically what you want to achieve during the 2 years that you will be working with us. What we're looking for is, of course, ambitious KPIs that look at that help us deliver on the goals of the accelerator. So please highlight what you are looking to achieve, make it ambitious, and here is what the document looks like. So you can put in your service, the name of the service, the number of registered farmers, and so on. The more important thing that I've highlighted earlier as well, female farmers, youth, and farmers with disabilities. Please try to identify KPIs for these segments because that's an important part of the assessment criteria. So going back to the application, once you've downloaded this KPI sheet, you basically just start the application. You'll see a number of different types of questions, standard things, all those that are mandatory. You'll see this asterisk next to them. There's a few that are drop-down menus, so you can pick from there. There's a few yes, no radio buttons and so on. And then there are questions that require more detailed answers. Where that is required, you will see a word limit assigned to it. So please stick to that word limit. And in terms of answering those questions, there's a few of them that require you to upload documents as well. For example, your registration certificates or last year's financials. So please, upload those documents as needed. With that, I will stop speaking and hand over to my colleague, Matt, who will be moderating the Q&A. While Matt is setting up, please feel free to add more questions, again, in either the chat window or the Q&A section.
Many thanks, Ahmed. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. There's, before you have too much of a rest, Ahmed, so there's we've got a couple of questions in the chat that I'll address first. So there's one from Beryl who's asking, will the accelerator have external mentors? Sorry, bear with me. Why are you focusing on the selected countries?
Right. So to answer the first part of that question, in terms of external mentors, yes, there will be advisors and mentors from within the GSMA AgriTech team. And then there will be external advisors and mentors, which, as I mentioned, will focus on their own areas of expertise. So investment readiness, UX and product design, monitoring and evaluation. And then there's that optional element of service-specific support, which will kick in depending on your needs as well as budget availability. But those first three that I mentioned, they are there. They will be there throughout the program. Your second question in terms of eligible markets, this is both a programmatic decision as well as the decision of partners who are supporting the program in terms of identifying markets where we feel that the accelerator can have maximum impact in terms of the 3 core objectives that we have laid out, and in stimulating digital inclusion and digital agricultural solutions in those markets.
Great stuff. Many thanks, Ahmed. Hope that answers your question, Beryl. And then we've got one from Hedza, which is asking, how will we decide on the content and the focus of the technical assistance package for each cohort member?
Sorry, could you repeat the first part of that? How will we decide?
Yes. So how does the how does GSMA decide what support will go to which cohort member?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some elements of the support which are going to be spread across all cohort members, and everyone will benefit from them. Right? That includes the elements that I mentioned: having a dedicated market engagement manager, having those different external consultants, the product iteration workshops, the access to GSMA insights. The depth of that support, or how much of that support you receive, will in part be determined by the progress that you make over the course of the 2 years. So so it'll be a decision based on how much need each project has and how much of an impact each project is creating. And then there is that optional element of service-specific support. So in terms of how we will decide when and where that technical assistance will be deployed, this will be discussed with cohort members while the contracting is taking place. A lot more detail will be shared at that time as well, to make sure that we have a mutually agreed framework for what technical assistance needs to be provided and when that will benefit the organization the most.
Many thanks, Ahmed. So there's another question from Hedza here, which is, how will the external consultants be selected for the provision of specific technical assistance services?
Yeah, so that selection will be made by the GSMA AgriTech team. Early next year, we will start the process of that selection. Of course, the consultants will not be finalized until we know what markets and what solutions we are working with, but we'll start that process early next year. And by the time our implementation starts, the consultants would be on board.
Thanks, Ahmed. Okay, so we've got a few questions. I'm going to just flick to the Q&A quickly, because I think some of these, there's a few about time of existence of the organization and where people are registered. So there's 2 or 3 questions that we might be able to answer in one. So maybe, Ahmed, you can remind or just reiterate the length of existence and the rules around registration.
So in terms of the length of registration, that's 2 years. So 2 years of operations, and be operating in an eligible market, be registered to work in that market, and have 1 year, at least 1 year of financial statements that you can share with us.
Okay, and just to put you on the spot, if I've got 2 years of operations in a country which is not in our eligible list, so outside our list of countries shown, I've got 2 years there, but 1 year in an eligible country. Does that what is my status? Am I able to apply?
So we will consider such applications in the sense that you have operations. Your operations are more than 2 years, so you meet that criteria. The strength of the application will obviously be gauged against the selection criteria, and then if your solution meets that selection criteria and is stronger, or as strong as applicants who have spent longer in that market, that will show.
Great stuff. Many thanks, Ahmed. Okay. Let me just jump. I'll come back to this question in a second. There was someone has asked a question here. We've got operations in multiple markets that are included in the accelerator countries. Which market should we apply for? So
that is your call. I would, look to apply in the market that has the best alignment with the eligibility and selection criteria, as well as the objectives of the fund. I would, however, mention that you can apply for multiple markets. You can submit multiple applications. You will need one application for each market, though. And then as you go through the questions, you will see that why that is necessary. And how the strength of your team, for example, varies across markets will start to show. So yeah, make your decision. If you have to apply for one, then make your decision based on how well operations in each of those markets align with the objectives of the fund. And then if you are interested in making multiple applications, you can do that, but you will need to submit a different application for each market.
Great, thanks, Ahmed. So there's just one, I don't know if we can do this on air, but let's just try. So just going back to the kind of years of operation and registration, we've got one here from Renee, which says, how about 2 years of operations, but only 1 year of registration and 1 year financial statements?
That's a good question. So in terms of financial statements, we only require 1 year, so that requirement is met. Only 1 year of registration is something that we will have to speak to our compliance team about and get back to you. 2 years of operation, but 1 of registration. If you could just shoot us an email at the email address that we've provided, we will make sure we get back to you in the next few days. And we will add this to our FAQs document on the website as well, so that everyone has access to the answer.
Great, thanks, Ahmed. Okay. Just putting the email address in the chat function for everybody as well. Okay, let's just see. I'm just scrolling up to see if I've missed any questions here. We've asked about the external consultants. There's one also, we've got a new one here. So, okay, there's 2 questions from Hedza. One is identifying there's no grant funding involved in this program. What will the average monetary value of the technical assistance package per cohort member be? So maybe I'll just dive in. Ahmed mentioned that the technical assistance will vary. There's a bunch of core technical assistance and then some other elements that will be decided based on needs and assessment with each cohort member. So it's actually very difficult to put a figure on how much TA on average an organisation will receive, but also it will be determined a little bit with progress and progress and accomplishment during the 2 years, so that it's the support will go where it's needed, but also where it's being effective and being utilised in the right manner. So yeah, very difficult to put a specific figure on that. And then there was another question that just came in, which was, and I'll put this back to Ahmed. Is there a minimum amount of revenue that an initiative should make in order to be eligible?
So no, there's no minimum amount of revenue, and that's an informed decision that we've made. But of course, if it's just one client paying, a couple of cents, that would lead to questions around the sustainability of that revenue, and so it's in terms of eligibility that would make you eligible. But when it comes to the selection criteria, which you'll see in the term sheet, there will obviously be questions around how sustainable this is, and is it really a revenue generating entity? So when you go through the concept note application, you will see some questions around revenues and financial statements. And so yeah, in terms of eligibility, it will make you eligible. There's no minimum threshold, but if it's a very, very low amount, that will lead to questions around the selection criteria.
Thanks, Ahmed. Okay. So we've got one in from Beryl asking, as for technologies, are there agri-tech developments that are excluded, such as robotics any tech that's excluded, such as robotics or biogenetics.
So in terms of the core of it, it remains tied to the elements that we highlighted in the objectives: farmer livelihoods, financial inclusion, climate resilience. In terms of robotics, I think that's definitely included. That's not a problem at all. And we've mentioned in the handbook as well that we've only provided examples of use cases or technologies that we can work with, but we are open to any technologies that help us attain those objectives. Now, when it comes to the second example was biogenetics, if I'm not mistaken.
Biogenetics, yes.
That we will have to get back on, unless you have a ready answer on that, Matt. Otherwise, that will go into the supplementary FAQs that we will add to the document.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that we're not really excluding any technologies, but actually, you know, if we think back to the vision and mission and the objectives of this fund, is there a ready market for the solution that comes out of that technology? So if it's, you know, is it fit and appropriate for the context in which it's intended to be used? So, you know, if there's a market and there's a service that exists and there's it's a revenue generating organization and there's a market for it, then it could be considered. But it all depends on context, approach, and the structure of the organization, really. You know, if this is theoretical, then it's unlikely to get selected. But if there is a proven technology that is being used and there is a market and revenue generation, then it's still, you know, it could be considered. Okay, let me just flip screen here. No problem, Beryl. Someone's asking, you know, the information that is being asked for on that application form. There's you know, things like financial statements and strategies and you know, some quite sensitive company information. Can you explain how this information is going to be handled by GSMA?
Absolutely. So all information that is submitted to us will be handled confidentially. There's it will not be shared by anyone outside of the GSMA organization or the panel, the selection panel that will be convened to make the final decision. So those are the only individuals who will have access to it. Within the GSMA, access will be restricted only to those involved in the application review process, and no one outside of that. You can also see our privacy policy that has been attached in the concept note application, and that will also provide some of the conditions under which the data will be handled.
Thanks, Ahmed. Okay, we are starting to dry up a little bit on questions. Let me just see. So there's one here. My company is in pilot stage. Can I still apply? So
it really depends on how you define the pilot. If it's a pilot with, you know, a few thousand farmers, I'm just randomly making up a scenario, a few thousand farmers who are paying customers of your service or associated with a business who is a paying client of your service, and you meet all the other eligibility criteria, you've been in business for a couple of years and so on, in an eligible market, then yes, you are eligible. But refer back to the eligibility criteria if there are elements that you don't meet. For example, if as part of the pilot you don't have paying customers, or if you've not been in operation for 2 years, then you would not be eligible.
Great, many thanks, Ahmed. Okay, so I think we're getting close to time, so this is a final call for any questions. Hope we've answered those that are out there, and you know, if you need extra information, then please please contact us on the AgriTech Accelerator email address. or by all means sign up for the webinar on Thursday. I realise it's a different time, so not as convenient for everybody, but we'll be repeating the same presentation. But maybe once you've reviewed some of the information, some new questions come up and you want to get them answered. So by all means, that you're very welcome to join. But we will be repeating the same presentation just so that you're aware. Okay, it looks like we've answered those questions. So Ahmed, I'll hand back to you and Abby to wrap things up.
Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you so much to everyone for attending, for joining us today. We look forward to questions. Please, my apologies. I think there was a bit of a lag there. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, we've got you back now.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I was just saying thank you so much for joining. And for being interested in the accelerator. We look forward to hearing back from you. If you have any questions, please do send us those questions over email. Feel free to reach out at any time. We will be organizing, as Matt said, a second webinar with the same content. If you have additional questions, you can join there. And we look forward to receiving your applications. We're very excited about this, and we hope you are as excited as we are to take this forward. So with that, I'm not sure if you can still hear me because Abby's frame has frozen for me.
Yes, we can hear you, Ahmed. Maybe a quick thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Connectivity is pushing us to the limits here. So thank you so much, and we will see you hopefully in terms of the questions you send or in the application that you send. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.